Greetings all and welcome. Well, I had to do it. I had to leave Utah. I was just getting into the groove, really experiencing some beautiful places, getting out on some amazing hikes, but I had to leave. I had to leave Utah for this. Yep, here I am up in North Dakota. For those of you that are new to my videos, I come up to North Dakota usually in the fall season for harvest, driving trucks, getting their sugar beet crops into the sugar plant. But last spring, I came up for spring planting season for the first time, and here I am back again. This is one of the farm fields that I seeded. I seeded some wheat in here. So I've been here for a little bit already, just been super busy and starting to slow down a little bit because of weather. We had some dry conditions for quite a while, which was good to dry out the overly wet fields from the snow melt. But then it just continued to be dry and started getting into the territory of really needing some rain, getting the seed in the ground and it being dry and windy, worrying about the seed getting blown away or damaged. And then we just got some rains in, a nice steady rain to soak everything in. So it always seems to work out. So anyway, I'm going to show you the digs that's provided for me up here. That's one of the great things. Typically I drive up here, especially for fall harvest season, but this spring I've got something lined up right after this seasonal job, and just it didn't work out time-wise. I'd be so far from the next thing I have lined up, I wouldn't be able to physically get there, so flying was the best option. I've flown up here once before for harvest season, and it's just, yeah, sometimes that just works out. And if with gas prices being so high right now, it was actually cheaper to fly up here than to drive my van. So anyway, let's go show you the house that they provide for me while I'm working here. So this is the old farmhouse that they put me up in here. During harvest season, we have quite a few more workers up here, drivers. And this garage has been converted into bunks. I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beds in there. Yeah, but in the springtime, it's usually just me here. But anyway, this is the house here. This is the little front room here where you can take your muddy boots and coats off. Do have a washer and dryer. It's the dryer there, the washer here in the kitchen. So this is the kitchen here. This is an old farmhouse. This is the house that the farmer's father grew up in. He is now 84 years old. He is still a part of the farm operation. He's got some great stories of growing up in this place. You have a fridge, like I said, washer and dryer. Kitchen table here. The main stove oven does not work, but we have a toaster oven, microwave, and a little electric fry pan to use. Toaster, coffee maker, all the basics you'd need. They provide a lot of the food for me. We're just so busy, it's hard for me to go out shopping and stay stocked, so that's a nice perk. It's a bathroom and shower in here, although it's quite small. This was not a part of the original house. They had an outhouse, of course, out back. They built this years later, so the shower is actually below the staircase. So it's pretty tight in there. Even the toilet behind the door here, it's a little tight to get around. You got to close the door to be able to use that. And there's the main living room here. I don't use this room much for hanging out, although there is a couch and big TV, satellite TV. I'm just not a TV person, so this usually ends up being my kind of changing room where I store my clothes. And then the main bedroom where I stay. Nice accommodations. It's very nice in the spring because it's just me, so I have the whole house to myself. Harvest season, there's a lot more workers here, drivers, so it's a little bit more crowded in here, but nice to be able to have this, especially flying and not having my van here. So I'm living solely out of this spring here. Okay, so for the rest of this video, I'd just like to sit down and kind of share with you a little bit about how this all came to be. Again, I've been documenting my whole, living out of a van experience since the very beginning, 2014 on, and shared all the seasonal jobs I've done. I've been fortunate that most of the seasonal jobs I've done, I've been able to make videos and document it. Amazon, I worked for Amazon. That was the one job where they did not allow cameras. They were very secretive of their fulfillment centers. So I just kind of wanted to start at the beginning again. 2015, I left my hometown for the first time. I had 2 seasonal jobs lined up. The sugar beet harvest in North Dakota, and then Amazon Fulfillment Center in Kentucky, working during the Christmas holiday season. Both the jobs provided a free campsite in a campground close by to the job, so you had a safe place to stay while you were working the job at no cost. That's a really big perk for me, and it was very attractive, so I pursued him. But I will say that was a huge step for me. I was an incredibly insecure, no confidence that it was even going to work out. It was just something I had to try. I had very little money in savings. When I first hit the road, I had $2,000 to my name, but I had 2 jobs lined up. I needed to get to San Diego to North Dakota, and I knew if I could get there, even if I had a major breakdown, I was hoping that $2,000 would be enough to cover any breakdown that I would have. Fortunately, I had no problems. So when I got to the job, I was able to make money, stack that onto the little bit of money I had in savings, and then I knew I had another job after that. So I was able to make the best of it. I gave myself 2 weeks. I remember it vividly. I left on September 15th of 2015. I had these 2 jobs lined up. I said my goodbyes to my family and shared with them the whole thing I had planned, and they gave me their best wishes, and away I went. So in those 2 weeks, going from San Diego to North Dakota, I made the best of it. I saw some amazing places for the first time. I remember I went to Bryce Canyon National Park, which I just recently was at before I came up here, and saw that for the first time and was blown away. I went to Yellowstone National Park in Wyoming for the first time. I had only seen pictures and some videos, some travel channels, and was blown away. I was really feeling the freedom. I was really feeling the experience of being on the road, and I was on fire. I was fired up. I was just ecstatic. I mean, if you look at some of those old videos when I first hit the road, I was just smiling ear to ear the whole time and just blown away. And, you know, I was already familiar with the camping on public lands, so I was able to do that trip those 2 weeks and keep my costs very, very low. I paid for no lodging. It was really just food, gas, and the little bit of bills I had, cell phone, car insurance. And I just knew that if I got to North Dakota, I'd be able to work that job, make that money, pile it on top of the little bit of money that I had already, and then the next job, and just assess after those 2 jobs. So that's what I did, and they both went well. The sugar beet harvest went very well. I enjoyed the work. I got paid very well. I got a lot of overtime. Now the Amazon job, I made pretty good money, but I didn't care for the job. I did not like being in a warehouse, no windows in the warehouse. I'm an outdoors person, and I knew that it was something that I probably would not want to do again. The big perk, though, of working in that job is I met a lot of other seasonal workers, people that were traveling and had been doing this for quite a few years, and they had experience with a lot of other different jobs. So I got turned on to a couple other seasonal jobs. I met folks that were doing like campground host jobs for the rest of the year. I got turned on to the Adventureland amusement park in Iowa, which offered the same type of thing. You work in the amusement park, they have their own campground, and they put you up there at no charge. So you've got a place to park your camper and walk to work. And so I remember taking notes on that one. Okay, this Amazon thing isn't the best, but maybe I could try this Adventureland thing. So the next year, that's what I did. So after doing Amazon, I beelined it back to San Diego, my hometown. And when I first hit the road on that September 15th of 2015, I really didn't have plans of doing this indefinitely. It was more like, let's just do this as an adventure. And I'll have a little bit of money and maybe go back to a job in San Diego and live out of my van. And I really didn't have anything formulated. I was just kind of living spontaneously. Wanted to try this adventure and got back and was able to kind of assess, okay, like how much money did I make? I really looked, combined pay between the 2 jobs, tallied up all the money I spent in gas along the way and my expenses with food. Like, okay, is this something that I could do again? And I'm not going to run out of money. I was still very unsure of that. There was very little information on the internet, let alone on YouTube. There was not a lot of like van life channels back then. So I was just kind of going on my own, intuition that I'm going to try this and maybe it's going to work, maybe it's not. So when I did get back to San Diego, it was great to see my family again. I had this little mini adventure that I was able to share the whole experience with them. Of course, I was posting videos and they were watching them, but to be able to share with them in person and have that kind of secure feeling of being back in my hometown, it was a big step for me to leave my hometown. I've always lived in the town or nearby the town that I grew up in. I've always been within miles of my family, my parents, my brother, and just always been a very kind of family-oriented person. We have get-togethers for everyone's birthday, holiday. So always, I've always just been close by my family. So that was one of the big initial hurdles, being away from that comfort of my family and my hometown. And the other big step for me was I knew nothing but working all the time. And even having a year-round full-time job, I wasn't the best at budgeting money. So it was a huge step for me to look at a lifestyle that involved working a short amount of time and then having a bunch of free time where I wasn't making an income. To be able to budget that money from just a couple months of work and get by the rest of the year, the next 10 months, without working, like that was a very foreign concept for me. And I just was very insecure about it. I thought to myself, there's no way this can work. The only way I'm going to find out if it can work if I actually do it. And that's what I did. After that first year, I stuck close to the Southwest like I still do, kept my expenses very low, camping on public land, not spending, trying to cook all my own meals and not eat out a lot, all stuff that I still try to practice to this day. And I thought if I can get through the rest of winter, I'm going to have to look at going back up to the beet harvest again or looking into some other seasonal jobs. I knew I didn't want to go back to the Amazon thing. I had met somebody that was working at Amazon with me that talked about this Adventureland amusement park in Iowa. So I looked into that, kind of did some networking, and the next thing you know, I'm hired to work at Adventureland in Iowa. Now the season for that job starts the beginning of summer and goes all the way through summer till the end of September. And I thought, okay, I could probably swing that. I might have to leave a little bit early, but from Iowa to North Dakota isn't that far. It's a little closer than San Diego to North Dakota. So that's what I did. I got hired for that job. I made my way out to Iowa. That would have been the end of May, I believe. Actually, no, that job started earlier. You could show up in April, and they were only open on the weekends. And then come May, they're open every day through the rest of summer. And then come September, they go back to only being open on the weekends. So I thought if I could stick it out through that job all the way till like at least September, take off maybe the end of August, I'd have a month of travel time to get it back up to North Dakota, try to squeeze in some fun stuff, camping places. So that's what I did. I worked at the Adventureland. It was quite the experience, documented in videos, not so well. I was not super pleased with the pay. The pay was really low, and it was very hot and humid. I was not used to humidity being from the Southwest. So it was a little bit challenging in that regard, but it was still an adventurous experience. It was something totally new. I was a ride operator, so I got to operate these amusement rides in this park. So that was fun. The people were awesome. All the locals that came to the park as guests were all super polite and, great people to be around. So in that sense, it was a great experience, but I knew it was something I probably wouldn't want to do again. I did end up leaving early. Went to the beet harvest, did that. So I had the money I made at Adventureland, the money I made at the beet harvest. Again, after the beet harvest, made my way back down to the Southwest, looked at the money I had pulled through those two jobs. And, once again, I had the prior year to go on, and I was starting to accumulate a little bit of savings. I wasn't living paycheck to paycheck, even though paychecks only came 2 months out of the whole year. I realized that it was something that was probably going to work out. I was starting to have confidence in myself that I could budget my money well enough to make this work. And yes, I was making enough money to get by and then some the rest of the year between the jobs themselves. So that meant Adventureland was one of the longer jobs I've ever done. I've also been a campground host, and that was a full kind of summer season as well. Again, something I probably won't do again. So it's turned out that this whole farming sugar beet harvest thing is what's really working for me. Now, a lot of you that watch my videos know that I've worked in Alaska on a boat for the commercial salmon fishing seasons. That has been a very adventurous job. It's something I would go back to again, and it's something you may see me doing again here soon. I got that job through posting videos on the sugar beet harvest. There was a subscriber to my channel that saw me the early videos when I was working at the sugar plant at the pilers operating the skid steer. A skid steer is like a little bobcat tractor. It's operated with 2 hydraulic levers, makes you go forward, back, and turn. You operate the bucket up and down. And the subscriber happened to be a skipper, a captain on a salmon tender boat for commercial salmon fishing in Alaska. He was needing a deckhand on his boat, and the position is being a boat deckhand as well as operating a crane to bring in the bags of salmon from the fishing boats. That crane is operated with 2 hydraulic levers. So that's where, when he saw me operating this skid steer, saw that I was into seasonal work, he reached out to me through my YouTube channel, and the next thing I know, I'm flying to Alaska and working on a commercial salmon tender boat. It was just an amazing experience, and I ended up doing that more than a few seasons. So between the beet harvest and this Alaska job, the Alaska job was about 45 days, almost 2 months, in the beginning of summer. It would be the end of May going into the end of July. So it worked out great. I'd be able to go work in Alaska, have a little bit of free time between the Alaska job before I had to get up to North Dakota for harvest, then have the whole from November all the way through till the next summer free to roam around and camp. And that's kind of the circuit that I settled into for quite a while. So because I'm personally, living this life and involved in it, it's taken me till, 10, 11 years in to kind of look back and reflect on how this has all evolved and how much this seasonal job lifestyle really has changed my life. It has opened up a completely new and different way to live. And it's drastically different than how I was living before. I mean, working a full-time career job year-round with very little time off each year, it was just the complete opposite of what I'm doing now. I have more free time. It's usually about 10 months out of the year, and I work for a couple months. It's amazing. It is completely different. The level of freedom is unparalleled. I mean, it's not for everyone, but it sure as heck is for me. Otherwise, I would not be doing it for this long. It's just something that has turned out to be a great way to live for me. I am happier. I'm more relaxed. I have less stress in my life. I have more money saved up than I've ever been able to save up when I was working more. Not having to pay rent is a huge part of it, and I'm very comfortable living out of a van, so it's just a win-win. I've met a bunch of amazing people. It's just turned into a lifestyle that I kind of wouldn't really give up for anything. Really, it's something that is sustainable. I'm able to save for my future, for when the day comes when I'm not up for traveling around. I should be able to have, money to retire on, and it's been great. And that's really all I wanted to share, is that, for anyone out there that feels like you're living life and you're not happy and you're not content and you don't feel like you have any options, this is an option. I'm not saying it's for everybody or it's the way. I know plenty of people that this would just not be a good fit for their life, for their personality. But for me, it is the best thing that's ever happened to me. It really has completely changed my life. And I am so grateful for the jobs that I have, the people I've met, the encouragement that I get through all my viewers on my YouTube videos. A lot of you have been along with me since the very beginning and seen this whole evolutionary process of how I've settled into this lifestyle. And it's just been wonderful. So again, I just appreciate you all tuning in. Those of you that have made it this far in the video, I just appreciate you being here. I hope this story was a source of inspiration for you. Whatever you may aspire to do in life, even if you're not interested in living this lifestyle I'm living, I hope that you would be encouraged to pursue something that you do desire, and yet you've been holding yourself back. You never know until you try, and it is totally worth taking risks. I just would encourage anyone out there to just pursue the things that you really truly want to pursue, regardless of the fears you have. Once you start taking the first steps, the walls start breaking down, and the next thing you know, you've completely turned your life around. So I'm going to leave it at that. I just hope you all are happy and well in life, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video. Take care. Peace.